say this is nice with the ice so smooth. If you messin' me, you messin' with the goons. Pucks in deep 5-hole, then we celly. Hockey with the boys and we trip like Letter Kenny. With dollar bills, we got the loonies. Paul and Braydon, a couple beauties. Gloves coming off if you wanna tangle, or I can hit you with the Dirty Dangles. Yeah, this is Dirty Dangles.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to another epi of Dirty freaking Dangles, boys. Stanley Cup final, Braydon.
Stanley Cup final. Conference finals just ended. Kind of what we predicted in a way. But it was it was more or less predictable in a sense, too, in a very, very unpredictable playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, Cinderella story of Joe Thornton winning the cup.
Oh, man.
Maybe we should start there. He's not going to get it. And what are your thoughts? Because a lot of people thought that really San Jose shouldn't even had a chance to go to the conference final due to that play in the other round with Vegas. But,
well, I mean, I think both of us and everybody else would have loved the storyline of San Jose against Boston. For you guys who don't know, Joe Thornton was originally drafted by the Boston Bruins and traded to San Jose. And this is probably, I don't know about you, but I think this is going to be his last season. So it would have been nice for him to reach the Stanley Cup final, to cap off an amazing career, and face his former team and potentially win against his former team. And it would have just been the cherry on top of an amazing career. I don't know. I think it would have been a really nice Cinderella story. But if you look at really what happened throughout the series, I think St. Louis was ultimately the dominant team over the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, and ultimately Game 6, San Jose versus St. Louis, a lot of people counted out San Jose. And I thought, okay, in a do-or-die situation when none of San Jose was really healthy, even some guys playing, it was questionable at that, you just got to play the best line rolling. And what I didn't understand is that they kept playing Joe Thornton big minutes that game.
Yeah.
And I kind of question that because defensively, obviously, he's not as fast as he was in his younger days. But you know what? You just got to play whoever's rolling that night and try for a Game 7. But, I mean, San Jose just didn't have it in them.
Well, no, and honestly, they kind of got lucky in some games, like that overtime winner with that god of hand, that hand pass that happened with Timo Meier, deliberately passing the puck over, and I can't remember who scored, but it ended up in a goal in overtime, which shouldn't have been a goal. I think that kind of set the tone for the series a little bit. It kind of got a little more feisty throughout, and I don't know. If it wasn't for that goal, I think that San Jose would have been out in Game 5 rather than Game 6, because it's just how St. Louis was rolling. It was kind of inevitable, especially when it got to Game 6 and they saw that Erik Karlsson, Thomas Hertl, and Pavelski weren't playing. It was kind of like, well, that's pretty much it then.
Yeah, and you know what? St. Louis have some real gamers up and down their lineup. What I noticed is that they have two real offensive players on each line that really drive it, and they have a good complementary piece. And, be it Boston definitely has that too, because they have that understanding of how line chemistry works. Obviously, they have probably the best line chemistry in the league in their first line with Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, and David Pastrnak. So it's a great matchup because both these teams have high team chemistry.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Just up and down the lineup for Boston. I mean, we should get over towards the Boston-Carolina series. As short as it was, Boston was definitely the dominant force in that series.
Like I did just now, though, it's very easy to overlook because Boston did dominate them. It almost wasn't even a series.
Well, yeah, I know, and it's just the experience that Boston brings, the depth throughout their lineups or throughout their forward line, even in their defense, and just how Tuukka Rask is just standing on his head. They're just rolling over every single team right now, and they're not going to be easy to take out in the Stanley Cup Finals, even for the Blues, who have just been completely remarkable throughout, or from the turn of the calendar year up until this point. It's just been I don't even know really what's going to happen in this Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, you know what? Obviously, I think Boston Bruins are the favorites.
I think they are. Yeah, they are definitely the favorites. A lot of analysts are predicting that they will win, but this playoffs have just been so unpredictable. It's kind of you really don't know what is going to happen. I don't know.
All right, so I actually have the Vegas odds for you. It's more than I thought. I thought it was going to be like negative 140. It's actually negative 150. So the Boston Bruins are clear favorites over the Blues, and that's obviously due to their playoff experience. The fact their top line is leaps and bounds, I can say, better than St. Louis's top line.
Yeah.
The thing is it really does come down to team play. And to me, it's like, which defense is the healthiest? Because one of my predictions earlier was that I thought San Jose, I didn't think they had what it took to get over Vegas because I thought their defense was so beat up. And they somehow got through it. But in the next round, that's when it really hit them. So it's the same with this series. I really think that the team that has the healthiest defense actually might have a solid shot at winning a few more games.
Well, yeah, but like if you look at the stats for a team like St. Louis, Pietrangelo and Parayko are right now 5 and 6 in their leading scorers. So like, and I'm pretty. I don't quote me, or actually the Pietrangelo has 4 power play points too. So I mean, their power play is obviously rolling with guys like O'Reilly, and Jaden Schwartz has just had a remarkable playoffs. Like he had 11 goals all season, comes out and he's already has 12 goals.
And I mean, Jaden Schwartz started the playoffs a little slow too, so his stats aren't even indicative of his play of late. He has 16 points in 19 games, but he has 2 hat tricks. I think he is the first person to have 2 hat tricks since Johan Franzen did for the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, yeah, it's pretty impressive, especially against these high caliber teams. And let's not forget, San Jose is just not an easy team to beat, especially with Burns, Carlson, Vlasic, Dillon on the back end, and just the depth. Like San Jose had incredible depth, and how Jaden Schwartz, Ryan O'Reilly, and Tarasenko were able to just get past them. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I will say, I think it's way more impressive that St. Louis, the teams that St. Louis had to beat, may just be more impressive than the teams that Boston had to beat.
Yeah,
going in.
I'd agree.
You'd agree?
I'd agree.
I'd also say this. I'd say that St. Louis have guys that on any given night can get 2 goals and be key contributors. Like Jaden Schwartz, we can't just look at his overall point total. Like, we got to give him basically 2 wins.
Yeah.
The 2 games he scored a hat trick, and then probably some other ones, right? And that's how this team plays. Is a key guy is a number 1 star that night, and he gives everything, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, most of the time, their number 1 star, Jordan Binnington. Let's get into that.
Oh yeah, Binnington again. Like the story of the St. Louis Blues. He is the reason why they are where they are at this point. Yeah. It's just incredible the run he's having, and it's just in the Cup final, it's going to be the battle between Binnington and Tuukka Rask. Ultimately, it's whoever's going to crack. It's whoever's going to crack. Really, like I think Tuukka Rask has the experience to overtake Binnington, but Binnington is not going to lay down, and it's going to be really interesting to watch. I think the top line of Bergeron, Marchand, and Pasternak, I think they might be able to get to him a little bit. But, I mean, we'll ultimately see.
And you know what? Carolina, I mean, obviously Rob Brandemore would hate to hear this, but I think a lot of Carolina stars are generally perimeter players. You know, Sebastian Aho, he played along the perimeter a lot. You know, so Tuukka Rask, he has a lot of easy saves. And he's a really good goalie, you know. It's just that St. Louis is a team that goes to the net.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
A team like that could probably pose the most problems that Tuukka Rask has had this playoffs, except for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I really do think that Toronto was their toughest test so far, and Toronto's actually probably like kicking themselves a little bit because they're thinking, man, we were better than all these other teams. Like, if we were to get past Boston, who knows, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, it's just another hypothetical there, but
Yeah.
figure I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. But even before we came on the podcast, you were talking about the goalies moving laterally. And so what do you think? Who do you think they can? What team can capitalize on the opponent's goalie the most then?
Yeah, so the way I see it is teams that can pass the puck laterally through seams usually are the ones that can benefit. And here's the thing. Both these teams have guys that can do that. Patrice Bergeron, elite passer. Ryan O'Reilly, elite passer. These guys can find cross seams and they can get the goalie to move. And ultimately, that's what you got to do in playoff hockey because goalies tend to play a lot more aggressively, bad ice. They just assume that guys aren't going to be pretty out there, and they generally aren't. So it's just something to look for.
Yeah,
and obviously Pasternak's shot's pretty good, so that's
Unreal.
the question too.
Yeah,
can Binnington stop a one-time Pasternak shot?
Yeah, I honestly think it's going to come down to who stays out of the box the most because I think the power play is going to be one of the biggest key factors in this series and just how they're going to be able to get the goalies moving and get them out of their comfort zone. So, but with that being said, though, Paul, who's your pick to take the Stanley Cup?
Gloria. Hey, I'm sorry. You know what? Blues, to me, they're just built. The back end, they're solid, and they can really forecheck the other team. And I'm not saying this is a key to a victory, like the number one key to victory, but they do all the little things. Their forwards go to the net hard. I'm going to name off some names that a lot of people aren't considering right now. Robert Thomas. I think he is on his way to being a top 6 forward in the NHL. And for the Blues, he's big. He's money. He scored. He helped Patrick Maroon score the game-winning goal.
You just picked up the garbage.
Yeah, well, he did. But Robert Thomas made a great move to the front of the net. And you know what? It's guys like that you need to go, And obviously, Robert Thomas, he probably learned a lot from playing off Tyler Bozak's line, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, you know what? This is a team that really embodies playoff hockey. They have the right mix of veteran and youth. Although at the beginning of the season, a lot of people didn't think they had enough youth. To me, I mean, they just embody a playoff team. Their fourth line also, I'll have you note, Barbashev's line with Alex Steen, they will give Boston's fourth line a run for their money. Boston's fourth line is Chris Reitner, Sean Corrali, and Nordstrom. They were said to be the best fourth line in hockey at one point, but I think the St. Louis Blues also have a great fourth line, and it's going to come down to depth, and I just think St. Louis can do it.
All right, so how many games? And who's your Conn Smythe winner?
You know what? We haven't had a Game 7, and we haven't had a Game 7 overtime winner ever in the NHL. And you know what? If I were to pick a year where that happens, I mean, maybe it's this year. But these are two even teams, and I don't think St. Louis can get by Boston in 6. Possibly Boston can get by St. Louis if they really get on a roll and they win the first 2. But to me, it's going 7 and Conn Smythe Binnington. Because St. Louis gets things done by committee, and Binnington's the guy playing all 60 minutes.
Yeah, fair enough. But surprise, surprise, I'm going the complete opposite way. I think that Boston is going to take it. And here's why. The depth, the experience that Boston brings is just going to take them over the top. I think a guy like David Krejci and Jake DeBrusk and David Backes, even Danton Heinen coming up in that role, for David Backes, I think that shutdown line is going to be a key factor in this series. And even having the third line with Charlie Coyle has had a great playoff run. It was a great pickup for them at the deadline. I just think with the depth that they have at forward and in my opinion, I think their defense is just far superior. They're such a shutdown lineup. Charlie McAvoy, Brandon Carlo, and Connor Clifton, even Matt Grzelcyk have just come out of nowhere and just taken over for the Bruins.
I will interject here just because one key note is that we all forgot Patrice Bergeron and Pastrnak at one time were pretty banged up in these playoffs. When they were playing against Toronto, a lot of people were calling them out for perhaps playing injured, and then it kind of all that talk went away because they had so much success against Columbus and Carolina. But against a hard bruising team like St. Louis, I would just keep an eye on that because there's definitely guys in each team injured, but a top player like Bergeron and Pastrnak, that would be a game changer.
Well, like I said about the power play and staying out of the box, I think that with a guy on a team like Brad Marchand, you're gonna draw penalties, and he's the guy that's just gonna get underneath people's skin, and it's not gonna be good for St. Louis. So I think penalties are gonna be drawn that way, and they're gonna dominate on the the power play. And I don't know. I just don't see Binnington or the defense or the penalty kill for St. Louis to be able to stop Boston at all, especially with Tuukka Rask playing so well at the same time. I don't know. There's just so much going on with Boston. I get it. The injury factor, the injury factor may play a role, but Patrice Bergeron is such a smart player. He knows how to maintain himself and knows how to play playoff hockey the right way. He's done it so many times already. I just think that with what Boston brings as a whole, with the grit that they play, with the fight that they play with, like I just don't see St. Louis being able to trump this kind of team. And ultimately, I think Boston is going to win it, and I think it's going to be in 6 games. And I'm 100% sure if Boston does win, Tuukka Rask will win the Conn Smythe. He's just been the dominant force for the Boston Bruins.
Hey, you know what? Boston Bruins have that top line of Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak. I will say this. If St. Louis can't shut down that top line, they probably won't win the series. But if they can, they have 1-2 punches to play against every single line of Boston.
Yeah.
And what did we see from the Toronto series versus Boston is Boston couldn't match their depth, so they kind of played a different game. You know, they played a very physical game. They changed their total style of play. St. Louis, I think, could be the most skilled team that Boston's going to play all playoffs, besides Toronto perhaps. So the question will be is how will their style of play be from lines 2, 3, 4?
Yeah, that's just the question.
Maybe just lines 3, 4 because honestly, Krejci is a beast. He's one of the leaders in playoff scoring.
He's third on Boston right now.
All time. He's third on Boston
for this playoffs.
But all time, he's like one of their leading scorers ever in the playoffs.
Well, he's a playoff guy. He's such a gamer. Like, he knows how to play the right way. He's been in the league forever. He's been with Boston forever. He knows the style of play that they play with, and he knows how. He just knows how to play with the guys around him. He knows how to make guys a better player.
Guys like Jake DeBrusk.
Exactly.
And guys like Jake DeBrusk are going to be key to this series because whether or not they can score goals, the question will be is, will Jake DeBrusk be able to score more goals than, say, David Perron? Like to me, that is a comparable I look at, and that is a comparable where I go, okay, that's where the series could really go because you're testing two teams with depth, but which one is better?
Well, I think that I think DeBrusk is better. I think he has better skill. The only thing with Perron is that he is a proven playoff player.
Yeah, but the thing I like about Perron, though, he has such high hockey IQ. I think he has better hockey IQ than Jake DeBrusk. Well, obviously, Jake DeBrusk plays with David Krejci. That is at itself, an asset, right?
Yeah.
Perron, you got to remember, this is a guy that scores 60 points regular season wherever he goes.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can't really say that. Well, I mean, you can. The only reason why you can say that Perron has better hockey IQ is that he's been in the league a lot longer. He's played with he played with Vegas last year, so this is like he's actually going back to back. So I don't know. The only reason why you could say this is that he's just played a lot longer, and DeBrusk is just entering the NHL essentially, and he's being able to play up to standards and on the second line with Krejci. So, but I do agree to a point. But David Perron has just been a proven playoff guy, and I think DeBrusk is just on the verge of knowing what he can do and knowing what he can produce.
But also, Braydon, what I look at sometimes when it comes to like two top goalies that can't really be beat is which guys on either team have a high shooting percentage. And when I see them on the ice, like guys that I see that can really score goals that are lateral movement on goalies, you know? And to me, David Perron's one of those guys. I think he's got like a 14% shooting percentage, which is decent, right? And you know what? St. Louis is going to need every single one of their guns going, and that includes Schwartz, that includes O'Reilly, Tarasenko, and Perron in terms of forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like just one more thing about Perron. He's essentially St. Louis's Brad Marchand. He gets underneath your skin. He can go to the net hard. He has a bit of skill. So with him, if he can play that kind of way, not up to Marchand's caliber, but I mean, if he can play like a tier or two lower and still put up points and just stay out of the box, I think that St. Louis does have a really strong chance, because you need a guy that gets underneath your skin.
Yeah, okay. So for any gamblers out there, though, game one, who would you have winning game one?
Well, it's in Boston, so I think that home ice advantage is definitely going to play a factor into it. I honestly will have Boston winning that series, even though they're on. I don't know if the rest. I think the rest is actually going to help Boston out, especially with injured guys like Bergeron. But so I think that Boston is going to take it.
And you know what? I also agree that Boston will take game one, but I just think St. Louis can rebound in game two. The reason Vegas made the odds minus 150 is they really figured the home ice advantage was key to Boston's success. And they figured, hey, if this team can get out to a 2-0 lead, I think the winning percentage of teams that go out 2-0 is like upwards of 80s or 90s in terms of winning the series. So perhaps the Vegas odds are kind of skewed that way because they know Boston has such home momentum. I just think St. Louis is a team that it always swings back. And if they can get back to St. Louis, they have a shot.
Yeah.
But
I definitely agree.
That is our current take, though, in terms of gambling, I think. Game one,
Boston.
Both me and Braydon believe Boston. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
So with that being said, a huge breakdown of the Stanley Cup final. So we want you guys to drop us a like on YouTube and subscribe to us. Also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Dirty Dangles HP. And tweet at us, DM us, do whatever. We want to get you guys a part of the show. We've been talking about it for so long. We really, really want you guys to be a part. So just drop us a like again and subscribe. And we really appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Exactly.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, really, really appreciate it. All right, till next time. Dirty
Dangles.